In the rewrite tonight, another episode of Republicans say the craziest things, and Democrats don't. What you're about to hear are utterly insane things said by elected Republicans and a former Republican Attorney General. And this is not a case of both sides do it. There are no equally insane statements made by elected liberals in this country. When political media coverage tries to strike a neutral tone by saying both sides do it, in this case, that kind of attempt at neutrality actually produces a lie. Both sides are not saying insane things about gun rights and the Second Amendment. A newly elected crazy Republican Congressman, Steve Stockman, issued a press release about impeaching the president if he issues executive orders involving firearms. The best you could say about Stockman is that he issued an idiotic press release in order to get national media attention. Otherwise, how would anyone know he's a congressman? Again, he served 1 2-year term back in the 90s. The worst you could say about Stockman is that he issued an idiotic press release because he believes every word of the idiotic press release. Another Texas Republican, state legislator Steve Toth, is proposing legislation that would make any federal law banning semi-automatic firearms or limiting the size of gun magazines unenforceable in Texas. His proposed Firearm Protection Act would make it a felony to enforce a federal assault weapons ban in Texas, so he would be sending out Texas Rangers to arrest FBI agents or ATF agents or anyone who tried to enforce such a federal law. This, of course, could never happen and is patently unconstitutional. And again, the best thing that can be said about Steve Toth is that he's introducing his idiotic bill to get media attention, which we have just granted him. And the worst thing that can be said about Steve Toth is that he's introducing his idiotic bill because he does not know that it is an unconstitutional, idiotic bill. And here in New York State, a crazy Republican said some crazy stuff about the tough new gun control bill that Governor Cuomo just got through the legislature. Republican legislator Steve Katz really hates the ban on magazines that would hold more than 7 bullets.
I come to Albany proudly and voluntarily as a citizen legislator. I leave my wife and 3 young daughters home alone for days at a time to represent my constituents up here, far from home. After what happened to the young mother in Loganville, Georgia, who defended her 2 young children against an intruder, this bill will turn me into a criminal, because you can bet that before I leave to do the people's work, there will be more than 7 bullets in the magazine of my wife's firearm.
Okay, well, how about not taking a job where you have to leave your wife and 3 young daughters home alone for days at a time? How about that? Okay, a couple of things here. First of all, the young mother in Loganville, Georgia, he was just talking about, used a simple revolver against an intruder, a revolver that held only 6 bullets. She didn't need 7 or more than 7. Her bullets hit the intruder in the neck, face, and torso, producing 4 exit wounds. So she's not the case to use to prove why you need more than 7 bullets in your gun. And if you, Mr. Katz, really are leaving your wife and 3 daughters in a place where they will not be safe without a gun that fires more than 7 bullets, then you should not be leaving them there. You shouldn't be going to Albany to give stupid speeches in opposition to bills that are going to pass no matter what you say. How can you possibly be risking the lives of your wife and children in order to stand in front of that microphone in Albany and say those things that have absolutely no effect on the outcome of the legislation being considered? How can you do that? What a horribly irresponsible thing to do as a husband and a father. Or you are, in fact, a responsible husband and father, and you're just lying about the need for more than 7 bullets in your wife's gun. You're just using your wife and daughters for sleazy political rhetorical effect. A Republican who should know better is former Reagan administration Attorney General Edwin Meese. He, too, today is actually saying that President Obama could be impeached for issuing executive orders on firearms.
So if the president unilaterally overrides the Second Amendment via executive order, I mean, would this be constitutional? Would it be legal? And how should Congress respond?
Well, it would not be legal. It would not be constitutional. And indeed, if he tried to override the Second Amendment in any way, I believe it would be an impeachable offense.
So what should Congress do then?
Then it would be up to the Congress to take action, such as looking into it to see if, in fact, he has really tried to override the Constitution itself, in which case then it would be up to them to determine what action they should take, and perhaps even to the point of impeachment.
All right, well, we'll be watching this one closely.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, how many executive orders did President Reagan issue? And the answer is 381, with Ed Meese as his Attorney General. And I know some of you are thinking, who is that asking the questions? And the answer is, I have no idea. And some of you are thinking, who the heck is Ed Meese? Well, he is a well-educated man who went from Oakland High School to college at Yale and law school at Berkeley. He was very close to Ronald Reagan before and during the Reagan presidency. Reagan made him Attorney General, but Ed Meese was forced to resign that office in scandal back in the era when the words Republican and Attorney General almost always equaled scandal. President Nixon's Republican Attorney General having been the first and only Attorney General who was convicted of a crime and had to serve time for it. While Ed Meese was Attorney General, he became one of the very few and very lucky guys who got to watch a lot of porn and get paid for it. In 1984, Reagan appointed Attorney General Meese to head the presidentially created Attorney General's Commission on Pornography, which meant that for 2 years, Ed Meese got to look at gay porn, straight porn, all the porn he could possibly get his hands on, which as Attorney General was a lot of porn. And after drowning in porn for 2 years and getting paid for it, Ed Meese issued an almost 2,000-page report that reached this conclusion. Although the evidence may be slim, we nevertheless now know enough to conclude that pornography does represent a clear and present danger to American public health. Now, that's public health, not personal health, because Ed Meese is 81 years old and still going strong after we know he really buried himself in porn for a minimum of 2 years without hurting his personal health. And that was before a single pornographic image was available on the internet. So Ed Meese has played the clown before his current descent into doing interviews on right-wing websites. For some reason, Ed Meese did not get around to mentioning to his right-wing website interviewer that the president he worked for and worshipped, and the president who is worshipped by that right-wing website, Ronald Reagan, was in favor of an assault weapons ban. And if it seems like Texas Republicans have always been crazy on this subject, there's this.
I did think we ought to extend the assault weapons ban, and was told the fact that the bill was never going to move because Republicans and Democrats were against the assault weapon ban, people of both parties. Now, I believe law-abiding citizens ought to be able to own a gun. I believe in background checks at gun shows or anywhere to make sure that guns don't get in the hands of people that shouldn't have them.
And how many Texas Republicans thought that that Texas Republican should be impeached for saying he was in favor of an assault weapons ban and that he was in favor of background checks at gun shows? How many? Yeah. Republicans have gotten a lot crazier since then.